Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. It's been an eventful week, here, and I'm just so happy to be here with you guys. We got a big shout out to my boy Brian Spawn. I really appreciate him each and every day. It seems like where in my inbox he's sending me some great sports news, and having him on the show was great. Also big time shout out to Marissa, tuned in on our Facebook live stream. Justin D, bowling from Woodbridge. Now we're seeing him at Cavalier, different places. Big shout out to him tuning in on our Instagram live feed as well. But the culmination of this week has just been so many different things, and I feel as though at times, I was talking to my mom about this, with everything that, is going on and trying to organize things. I've been trying to, write things down a little bit more and trying to stay organized so that I don't forget the different obligations that I, signed myself up for. And, I think that organization has helped me to do a lot more in a lot less time. So, I think that anyone else out there that's kind of struggling with scheduling things and trying to fit things into the day, definitely utilizing a calendar or writing things down to remember will help you a little bit out, because it's helped me out a lot. And, first and foremost, I started out this week doing some bowling where I went to Brandon, got a ocean vibe drilled up, and I was really happy about that because that ball is supposed to help me out on when the dry conditions come up. Got to try it out a little bit at Majestic, so I just feel like at this stage in the game, I got the right tools in the bag. And leading up to that, I think Tuesday, one of the big time things that we had slated that a lot of us are excited for sports wise was watching that WNBA finals. And me and Ish had a conversation yet again as we were watching these two teams of high caliber basketball, and we were just wondering, and I actually heard a comment at Majestic. Somebody said, WNBA? What's that? I don't even know what that is. And he obviously knew what the WNBA was, but it's constantly things like that I feel like the WNBA is trying to break past, which they have done with different marketing campaigns and trying to get some more primetime games. But I still feel like I said to Ish, there's that stigma that women's sports or women's basketball isn't as exciting, and you couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, when you turn on a WNBA game, if you turned in for that WNBA game, that was one of the most classics in WNBA history. And I think that it was all set up because Chelsea Gray had gotten injured the game before. And I remember talking to Jeff, and Jeff's brother was, adamant that the Liberty was going to send this to a game 5. When you have a team that has Chelsea Gray, and she is the sole handler of the rock, she's facilitating the offense, I think at times the Aces become reliant on her. And this last game, game 4 of the WNBA Finals, was where we see different players really step up. I mean, Asia Wilson, who reached out to Cynthia Cooper, on how to win back-to-back. I think that was huge. I think Dawn Staley had given her the phone number, so big shout out to Dawn Staley, Coach Staley. But, Asia Wilson played like a woman that had a chip on her shoulder. Not winning the WNBA MVP award to a Breanna Stewart, who she's playing against. And me and Jeff definitely talked about it, and we expected a little bit more from Breanna Stewart. And the Liberty were relying on her throughout this season. When she came over to New York from the Seattle Storm, this is where we expected her to shine or to step up in these moments. And I feel like she kind of had that New York shine on her, where Max Scherzer experienced the same thing, where when it was crunch time and we needed him to get a win, he folded. And I don't want to necessarily say that Breanna Stewart folded, but because she did not step up, her team ultimately lost. And like Tori said, the Aces dominated. And I think it was funny because, a couple months back when we were at a bowling tournament in Pennsylvania, I had said to her, was like, yo, the Aces are for real. I think we should put that futures bet in. And I think that throughout the season, we saw a lot of inconsistency from the Aces, which kind of dissuaded people like my sister away from, investing a lot of stock in the Aces. I mean, a lot of people don't realize the Candace Parker injury did not help them a lot. And then also getting injury from Chelsea Gray at the end of the season. The Aces had their little spurts where they were losing some games. They had to go through Dallas Wings, who they've lost to, and then also when they picked up losses to the Liberty. So, they faced adversity, but I think that, again, that's what makes this championship run from the Aces so much more, because losing your best player, ultimately, it's almost like you could have packed it up and say, "Ah, man, let's see if we can sweat it out and extend this to a game 5 potentially." But again, something after halftime, it's those Becky Hammond talking tos at the halftime break that sparked the Aces, and they just came out hot. And unfortunately, the Liberty did not have enough shot makers at the end of the game when it counted. And that's where you thought Breanna Stewart would come in. And like Jeff said to me, she just didn't step up. So, I'm excited for the Liberty because this isn't an unsuccessful season for them. For them to get back to the finals for the first time since the 2000s, I think that the Liberty are definitely going to be a team to look out for next year. Tori says triumph is something to look out for. Yeah, for sure. I think that also when you look into things now, if the Aces potentially go to repeat for a third time, now you're talking about them potentially being one of the best WNBA teams of all time, because now they've been the first team to repeat since the Houston Comets, which is now a defunct franchise. So the WNBA is on the rise. I cringe when I hear people like that in the alley or other places say about how boring the WNBA is, because if you sit down to take the time to watch a game, I promise you'll be entertained. And someone like my girlfriend, who wasn't necessarily into women's sports, when we went to the game live, she had an amazing experience and did not say no to trying to go again. So I challenge y'all. Try and go to a WNBA game or try and watch, because if you missed the WNBA Game 4, you missed an absolute thriller. And I think that what helps to get a little bit of the notoriety is it has been the relationship between the NBA and the WNBA. You see a lot of times some of the players are going to watch these WNBA games, and I think that helps to get people to bring them in, because they say, if DeMar DeRozan's at the game, why is he there watching? There must be something there to watch. And I think that ultimately the WNBA is a great segue into setting us up for the NBA, which starts next this Wednesday. And I have to say, I'm going to get Cheeseball of the Year award for this one, but shout out to my girlfriend, best girlfriend of the year, because for my first time, I will get to see a New York Knicks opening night on Wednesday. She surprised me with some tickets, and looks like I'll be needing a sub. But I'm excited to go to the game, and the start of the season is always exciting because you never know what to expect. Some teams might sputter out the gate, and you can see some teams exceed expectations. And I feel like the Knicks kind of have flown under the radar because they had the big acquisition in Jalen Brunson, which turned out to be very fruitful. But then the question was, what surrounding pieces were going to be added to make this team a much better caliber team to potentially make a run in the playoffs? And I think that what we saw was, yes, the Knicks had some great players, but I think defensively they really lacked on the perimeter. They were a liability defensively towards that playoff run. And I think they beefed up their defense by adding some key pieces, especially a Dante DiVincenzo, who I love. He was a key cog on that Milwaukee Bucks team, especially defensively. So, I think that the Knicks are going to be better. I'm just excited to see this team play, and they've looked, well in the preseason, but we all know that's completely different. When you put the lights on in Madison Square Garden, when all the marbles mean something, then we see what a team is truly made of. And, I'm excited to go to the Garden and cheer on my team. I joked around with our group chat and I said, here's to another year of self-inflicted agony. But, I wouldn't rather be on any other team or rather be rooting for any other team than New York Knickerbockers. So hopefully they can make my fandom worth it, all right? But moving past the NBA, I think that sneakily one of the most exciting things has been the MLB playoffs. And for those that don't know, the Philadelphia Phillies have to be one of the hottest teams. I think their loss to the Diamondbacks in Game 3 was they might have been one of their first losses all postseason. So, it's hard not to say that they're a lock going up against the Diamondbacks because, in what a lot of people don't realize in playoff baseball, the format is 2-3-2. So this game in Arizona is going to be the last game that the Diamondbacks have. So you figure if they don't win this game, then they got to go win 2 in the road, against one of the hottest teams in baseball. And I just feel like the Phillies are rolling, and that's going to be a little bit too tall of a task for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So if you ask, yes, I think the Philadelphia Phillies are a lock to go to the World Series. They have the pitching, they have the hitting, they can small ball you, they're great defensively. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, the Phillies are a lock in the NL. And then moving forward, I think that if you talk to me earlier on in the week, I would have said, wow, the Rangers, they're a lock, man. Astros, they're looking a little dated. Cinderella, the slippers fell off. But the Astros tonight score 3 runs in the 9th inning off my boy Jose Altuve. And then to be down 0-2 to start the series, you lose your first 2 in Houston and then got to go and try and take back the series, and they won, in Texas. And, man, when you're down 0-2, a lot of times teams fold. And to see the Astros show that championship pedigree, how could you not go against this team? I think this is the great equalizer if we talk about next rounds because, I see now that the Astros are up 3-2. And it's going to be extremely difficult again for the Texas Rangers to try and come back and win 2 games against the Astros in Houston. I know they did it earlier on in the series, but now those 2 in Houston in a closeout scenario, you got the weight of your world on your shoulders. I think Texas came out in those first 2 games as the hunters. You know what I'm saying? Now they're the hunted. And I think that that's going to be an extremely tall task for the Rangers to come back from. And I think that now if we talk about the Rangers losing to the Astros and the Phillies eventually getting this one, it's going to be extremely difficult to see that or to at least take the Astros to not beat the Phillies because the Phillies have not faced the adversity up until this last game where they lost. But, what we've seen from the Astros is they were down 0-2 and now have taken command of that series. So I think if you experience that adversity a little bit earlier in the playoff run, that gives you that little bit of the edge. So from these final 4 teams, the Astros got it to me right now. And then we got Brian Spawn with an update. He says the Diamondbacks just scored on an RBI single, bottom of the second, end of the second, 1-0 Diamondbacks. And I think that's huge for them. They got to get out ahead against the Phillies. But from what we've seen, 1 run I don't think will be enough. I don't think the Diamondbacks right now have the elite starting pitching or relief pitching to hold just a 1-run lead, especially after they had to, do that last night or last game to beat the Phillies, right? So it's going to be extremely difficult. Um, Going up 1-0 definitely helps the Diamondbacks, but again, I still got to go with the Phillies rocking out here. And then when you talk about things bowling wise, we had a nice, good week of bowling. Once again, I told you I got a chance to get my ball drilled by Brandon. Big shout out to Brandon Burwell over the right fit. And, Tuesday, I got to bowl with my brother against Eric. Big shout out to Eric Turner and Walter. Eric Turner and Walter are two people that I've bowled with for some time. And, I really enjoyed getting the chance to bowl against them because, you always want to test yourself against your friends, and especially competitively. And I wanted to show them the work that I've been putting in as well too. So to be able to come out on top with my brother and get a 19-1 win, it meant a lot. It wasn't like we weren't trying to hype the other team up as well too, because they're obviously people we know and our friends. But at the end of the day, bowling, there's no defense. It all comes down to what you can do. And, I've seen that personally over these past 2 weeks, that having the right equipment in your hands and throwing the ball with confidence, it can be devastating. And then Wednesday, we got a big time win. Big shout out to Pops, Lenny, Angie, because yet again, we just showed that we can get it. We can go win tough games, giving up handicap, making key strikes when needed. That's one of the most dangerous teams I've ever been on in my life, man. And I'm excited to be a part of it with them. To shoot, I think I shot 650 something that night after shooting 660 the night before. It speaks to the work that I'm putting in. Taking the time to take rest for the arm so that I can be ready to give it my all. I think it's things like that that truly set me up for a position to succeed. But I think the biggest catalyst, or the thing that I learned the most from this week, wasn't in my successes, but it came from my failure. And I want to say that because this Thursday, I didn't have the success that I had on Tuesday or Wednesday. I had my worst outing of the season. I shot a 501. And it was extremely frustrating because, on the other hand, I had my brother who had his best set of the season, a 666, I believe, and TK who shot really well, and Dad who finally picked things up. And I'm the liability on the top, and I'm supposed to be the foundation, this table setter, and I was in the backpack. And I think that it was a very humbling experience for me because for the last 2 weeks, I guess you could say, like Brian Spawn said, you were rolling on the lanes, continuously shooting over 600. You get into that rhythm or that flow, and everything just seems to go your way. And I just felt like yesterday, I just didn't have it. Whether it was just some bad breaks, I just did not have it. And our team wound up getting one of our only losses of the season. I think only our second loss this season. And it was tough, because obviously we were a little bit upset and we weren't exactly our happiest. But, for me, shooting that 501, I still was out there trying. I was still out there adjusting, switching balls, doing the things that I needed to try and switch things up and get a dub out there. But one of the craziest parts was in the 10th frame, I threw a shot and I left 5-10, split. And 9 times out of 10, that's an open, pack your shit up, you're done here, just get off the lanes. But, something in me was like, what, I can make this shit. I haven't been worth a quarter all night. But at least if I can make this one, let me at least show up once for the team and try and give them a shot at winning this. And sure enough, I threw the shot straight at the 5-pin, and it kicked it, rolled, and in the most, I guess you could say, ceremonious way, it just rolled and fell off. And everybody just started going crazy. And, I kept the stoic face because obviously I was still on like 160 pace. But it showed. I think that showed to my teammates, and that showed to our competitors, the people around, that I could be blowing like absolute dick water, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to try and get better. I'm still going to give it my all. I'm not going to pack it in per se. That's just not in my nature. You're always going to get my 100% all, and I proved that not only to my teammates but to myself, that at my lowest point, I'm still a dog. I still got that dog in me. All right, I'm still gonna go out there and try and fight. And we actually wound up winning that game. So, once again, big shout out to Tyree for also taking all 3 card games, taking all our money. But he deserved it. Like I think Tori, your dad, said, he had some big time striking, and we don't even take 2 points if it wasn't for him. That's what, again, makes this team that I'm on, this family team, so fun. Because even after losing 7-2, we still got to celebrate my brother TK getting himself a promotion. Big time promotion, TK. And he's only been with his company for 8 months. So it just shows you, when you put in the work, make yourself available and accessible, and you do things the right way, you never know what can happen and who could be believing in you. So, I think when you surround yourself around the right people that are doing the right things, people that are advancing, it's infectious. You want to have that same success as well too. It only motivates you to grind. What do I got to do to get myself to the next level? Am I putting out those resumes? And I think that the fact that he's been able to not stay complacent has translated to all facets of his life, to where now he's winning money in bowling, and he's going to be potentially 200 by the end of this season too. So everything translates together. It's good to get through the day, to survive the day, but how are you going to get better in that next day? And I think that bowling is a great representation of life at times, because striking could be anything. Striking could be, getting a girlfriend. It could be getting that raise. It could be, taking a vacation, but you're not always going to strike. You know what I'm saying? You're not always going to have those situations where you have things go your way. But, to be able to spare out, it keeps you in the game. And I think that, again, for people that don't play sports, they're doing themselves an extreme disservice as far as adding those core values to yourself. And I can see it firsthand. Some of the most heartbreaking things, is being at the high school, working at the high school, and, seeing a guy that's, maybe a little bit older, that may not necessarily be able to do the things that a senior should be able to do, fundamentally, academically. And when you look at the priorities and ask the kids some of these days, what is it that they do after school, it's very alarming to hear some of the answers. Just chilling, trying to get girls. And for some of those that are at the high school, smoking at that age. I think that it's very difficult, because my high school experience was so much more different. I was one of the people that I went to go play basketball. I went to play baseball. I was playing sports, active in different activities. And I feel as though, if more kids were into sports and could experience failure. One of the worst things was in a rec league game, I think, missing a free throw that could potentially have won the game. And it's still something that ingrained in my mind, so that on the lanes at 33 years old, if it comes down to a key shot where I need where our team needs us, and I think back to that time when I was in 7th grade where I missed that free throw. You know what I'm saying? So again, sports at times translates life, and that's why we hold these athletes, and why social media has made them more accessible, and why we kind of heighten these athletes even more than ever. But I think that with bowling, I know Tweet. Her son is in Little League Baseball. Antoine, his sons are in soccer. I know my girlfriend's nephew, he's playing sports. And I can honestly say that, him maturing and calming down and having some of those experiences has come from being in sports. I've seen his experiences with him much differently because of how those positive impacts of being in sports, having something to work towards. It's the basis of trying to progress forward. Having someone who struggled to get a hit in Little League all year. We remember that one time where that kid finally hit the ball off the tee. Yes. I remember my first in the park home run where my dad was literally picking me up, you know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget great that. Feeling, some of the best feelings in life come from sports, man. And I think that, seeing kids in the high school, now to where they're not, to where sports aren't a passion to them anymore. It's just a hobby. I just wish that, some of the parents out there would, be more inclined to push their children to go to sports so that they can learn to, get those things that you can't just read in a fucking book. I think that
or
you can
get on a video game.
Yeah, or playing on a video games. I mean, how many times do you see where you go out to dinner and they're just giving the kid the iPad? You know what I'm saying? I can remember when we would go out to dinner or when I'd be out with my parents and we'd be talking about the games, what had happened, what we could do differently. So again, things are a lot different. And, the thing is, I just know what sports did for me and what they continue to do for me. So, I just encourage people, maybe it doesn't have to be necessarily sports, but just find something that you're passionate about. But just in my experiences, sports have provided me that passion and given me those core values that have helped to apply to many different facets of my life. Then we have Tweet who said, absolutely. And the best memories, some of my best memories are from travel softball, just bonding with the team, being at the hotel even, winning the tournament made it even better. I mean, those are things. You could probably go and look and see that trophy that you probably had. That medal that still maybe have a little dust on it, but you accomplished that. That's something that you will always remember. And again, I just feel like this generation of kids are being robbed of that experience or being robbed of those core values that we learned at such a young age, So, for those people out there with kids listening in, get your kid into soccer, get your kid into baseball, maybe get him into rec league basketball, because I promise you, there's still times where I have a beer with my dad. He said, do you remember what's that kid, that you crossed him up and you left him on the floor at half court?
Oh my gosh.
That
was at Thomas.
Crossed him out. See, you just said
Jefferson.
Right at Thomas Jefferson. Those are memories that we have for the rest of our lives. So, if anything that maybe comes from this episode today, go outside and play some sports, all right? Go get your kids and go sign them up for something, because those experiences were some of the best of my life. So on that note, what Vitamin Z says, former Edison Rec League All-Star. That's true. Hey, but we remember that, right? We remember that.
We were the first B team to win the championship, too.
See, first B team, baseball team.
Branchburg tournament.
At Branchburg. See, these are things that my dad remembers and things that I remember. And I remember, and this will be my last memory before we head off the air, because I could do memory lane all night long. But one of my things that I remember from my dad in that tournament was in baseball. They tell you on a fly ball, if it's pop up, just keep running, because just in case if they drop it, you have a chance to potentially score. And I remember there was 2 outs, so I was doing that, and my dad, who was the third base coach, lost count of the outs. And when the guy caught the ball, I was like, Barry, what are you doing? Get back! I never ran so fast in my life to try and run back, slide into first base. And Aunt Kyle, rest in peace, his father says, what are you doing? There's 3 outs. And I'm like, oh! And it was in that memory that I remembered, you gotta remember how many outs there were. Because I was the one who had to, wash my jersey out in the sink, because we only get one jersey and you slide it. That sand don't come off. I don't know if you know. That don't come off if you just put it in the washing machine. You gotta scrub it out, right? So again, life lessons that we learned from sports, man. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. This is the Talk That Talk show.
Talk that talk.
Every single week. Thank you guys for continuing to give me a platform to share my thoughts. And yo, we're just gonna keep on rocking, man. I think we're heading into episode the 230s now. And I'll just say this, you're gonna want to tune in because we're gonna have some special guests on these next episodes and show off some key merchandise that I promise you're gonna want to watch and check out. So I love you all, and I'll see you all next week.